What's up, guys? Rick here with my top 5 sleepers for this week's ZOZO Championship. Very similar to last week, 78 players, no cut event. And there are some potential values in both the betting markets and on your DFS site of choice. There's a couple of names that I'm considering this week that, quite frankly, I don't ever play, but I think that there is logic and there is reason behind potentially backing a few golfers that might be very interesting. You've probably never heard me talk about or don't hear me talk about often. Live on Wednesday, there'll be a live chat. Join us for that Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the RickRunGood YouTube channel, where we'll go over final thoughts, questions, ideas around the ZOZO Championship and answer any questions that will come through the chat. So make sure that you block out your schedule then. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, I think that's it. Let's jump into the top 5 sleepers for this week's ZOZO Championship. Let's start with one of those names that I rarely talk about, and it's Bubba Watson. He's $8,700. He's 35-1 to win this golf tournament, which I think is sleeper enough. I think it's a long shot enough, especially when you've got only 78 golfers in the field. But when it comes to Bubba for this week, it just feels like a convergence of a lot of different trends. He leads the field at the CJ Cup last week in strokes gained from tee to green, which is, of course, my favorite stat out there. He gained 11 strokes. In his start before that at the U.S. Open, he gained 10.99 strokes from tee to green. So basically 2 straight starts in which he's gaining just a massive amount of strokes tee to green. I understand that the putter can absolutely let him down at times, but, if I'm going to continue to kind of be a little preachy on strokes gained tee to green and really back that stat, then I can't really avoid Bubba in this situation. I do also think that the guaranteed 4 rounds, it could backfire, but I think it is interesting for Bubba. We've seen him catch fire at times. You give him a couple extra opportunities to have a really low round. You're not going to be burnt by him imploding over the course of 3 holes on Friday and missing the cut, things like that. So I think it could go both ways for Bubba. He's going to get my investment at both 35-1, and he's probably going to make a fair share of my DFS lineups, because I think this is just a rare Bubba week. There's not a lot of situations that I like to deploy him, but this is certainly going to be one of them. Up next is Sebastian Munoz. He's $7,200 and he's 90-1 to win the ZOZO Championship, and I don't know if he can actually win this event. But what he has shown us over the last couple of months is that he can really contend in all types of fields, kind of no matter what else is going on or who else is there. So he finished in a solo 9th at the CJ Cup last week, which was like almost shocking when I realized that he actually did this. He had rounds of 71, 70, 67, 69. I mean, it was just a completely solid, no blow up rounds, nothing really scorching hot, just 4 solid rounds, and he earns himself a top 10. And he's kind of been doing that for the last couple of months. You go back to the end of last season, he had a top 20 at the Northern Trust, an 8th place finish at the BMW, a 7th place at the Tour Championship. That was without the starting strokes. So, I mean, he really is contending in these playoff events, which are absolutely stacked fields, guys that are in theory playing the best that they have. He makes the cut at the U.S. Open. He falters a little bit there, but now he's got basically 3 straight top 25s, including that 9th place finish. And if you look at this and you slice it up from, basically, let's call it the playoffs, a little bit before the playoffs, from the Wyndham Championship to now, you sort this field by strokes gained total, and there's really only the top 2 guys under $8,000 are Brian Harman. He's averaging a hair over a stroke gained per round, and then it's Sebastian Munoz, who's at 0.7 strokes gained per round. Like, those are the top 2 guys under 8,000, and Sebastian Munoz is on quite a run. He's 7,200. He opens up a lot of flexibility in your lineup. So I've got him in the top 10. I've got him as a pretty big play in my core for this week, and I think he can continue to keep the good times rolling. There's always something about Abraham Ancer, who is at 55-1 to win the ZOZO Championship, and he's $7,800 on DraftKings. You just look at his results, and he just continues to pile up good ones. A T28 last week, which is fine, nothing too crazy, but fourth place at the Shriners 2 weeks ago. But I'm kind of looking at some of the bigger events, the events where there's going to be a really good field at it, or it's going to be really deep. And, going back, let's see, 14th at the Tour Championship, so that's better than the field average. 15th at the WGC FedEx St. Jude, which is going to be a similar structure and style to what we're going to see this week. Second at the RBC. I mean, he went the first basically 3 events that he played in the restart were all 14th or better. And remember how stacked those fields were? He played Charles Schwab, he played RBC Heritage, and he played the Travelers. And they were just absolutely stacked fields. Continues to find a way to do it. Sherwood is not particularly long, which helps someone like Abraham Ancer. I think it plays like 7,000 yards on the scorecard, something like that. So he gains strokes off the tee, but he does it with accuracy over distance. He's a great iron player, and we've seen him contend in a lot of different types of fields. He's an absolute competitor. He proved that to all of us at the President's Cup, and now he's still, I believe, the highest ranked player in the world who's never won worldwide, which is kind of crazy. Or never won on the PGA Tour or the European Tour, I think is the distinction. I'll have to look that up. But needless to say, he's probably due for a win soon. He's playing well enough. The game is there, and it doesn't really matter what type of field it is. I think he finds a way to insert himself on the first page of the leaderboard. Taylor Gooch is up next. He's $7,100 on DraftKings. He's 135 to 1 to win the ZOZO Championship, and he's coming off a 5th place finish at the CJ Cup. And I don't necessarily love chasing, someone who just had a really great finish, see if he can do it again, especially because of the way that Gooch kind of did it. Now, his short game's pretty strong, but he gained over 11 and a half strokes in the short game last week, which is almost certainly unsustainable. But you start to look at the results that Gooch has had, and he's a bit more volatile, right? He's missed 2 of his last 4 cuts. He's missed 3 of his last 8 or so. But the finishes that he intertwines there are a lot of top 25s. He had a stretch from the 3M Open where he went 18th, miscut, 25th, 18th, 65th, miscut. I think so there's different types of players on tour where some guys don't even have the upside to finish in the top 20 of a lot of golf tournaments, right? And their best finish is, T36, and they try to just grind out cuts and all that stuff. Gooch is still trying to grind out cuts, but I do think that when he actually makes a cut, which he's not going to have to worry about this week, when he does play well, he actually has that upside. So for me, that's the distinction between him and a lot of other golfers who are ranked outside the top 100 in the world. So I think he could continue the good times going on here, and Gooch could find himself in another good position come Sunday evening. All right, here we go. It's time. Jordan Spieth, which I cannot tell you the last time I even remotely considered playing. Actually, I can. It was Charles Schwab Challenge. It was the first event back from the break, and I said, he's had 3 months off to try to figure things out. If it doesn't happen now, it's probably never going to happen, and it didn't. Actually, no, I think he finished like 8th there, I want to say. I think he had a pretty good week coming out of the restart. But here's the thing with Jordan Spieth. It's gone so poorly over the past 3 years. I have such little faith in his game at this point, but there's a couple of things I need to point out. His style of play. And I think I wouldn't even bet him. Like, I wouldn't bet him. I wouldn't top 5, I wouldn't top 10 this. I think you can only play him in DFS formats or fantasy formats that reward birdies significantly more than they penalize bogeys. Because what you'll see is if you go back to last week, Jordan Spieth finished in a tie for 38th in the golf tournament, okay? He was 4 under par. He finished in a tie for 38th. He was actually the 13th. Let me make sure I have that right. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, 13th highest scoring player on DraftKings. Think about that. That is a huge gap. It's a 25 place gap between his outcome in the tournament his fantasy scoring rank. And the reason for that is because he remains capable of making a ton of birdies, rattling off a bunch of birdie streaks, and then like in 2 holes making a triple. And those triples hurt more in his placement in the golf tournament as opposed to how much they hurt him in actual fantasy scoring. So that's part one. He's a very valuable relative to his actual game. He's very valuable in fantasy formats. And now he's what, $6,900 or $6,800? He is $6,900, which I only had one other instance in the last 3 years where he was under $7,000. It was the Hero World Challenge last year, I think, which is only an 18-man field. The pricing is very, very wonky. So, they have to make guys lower than normal. So I'd argue this is conceivably the lowest price in like a real golf tournament that Jordan Spieth has ever been. And when you combine that with how valuable he is with the birdie making ability, I think you have to consider it, right? I mean, I don't want to bet him. I think his game is still terrible, but the style of game that he plays is incredibly interesting. So this might be the last time I say this for a while, but I think Jordan Spieth is a fairly good option for this week's ZOZO Championship. There you have it. My top 5 sleepers for this week's ZOZO Championship. Let me know what you think about that. Tweet me at RickRunGood or leave a comment below. Again, remember, we are going live chat Wednesday, 3 p.m. We'll break down all the questions and everything else that's going on. Ownership, everything like that for the ZOZO Championship this week. Best of luck, and I'll talk to you guys soon.